I'm pretty sure all of us know the following situation. You are watching a YouTube video and you are immediately falling in love with what the person is doing there. No matter if it's a technique or a color combination, a special medium that is shown there, or something that is done with a stencil or stamps or whatever. You can imagine everything for this situation. What happens next? You are a little bit like shocked, like this shock of love, and then you run into your craft room, you grab your journal, you open the journal with the plan to create something like that what you have seen in the video. But once you've opened the journal and you start grabbing your supplies, perhaps you realize, wait, I don't have exactly the same materials and mediums that the person had in the video. And what happens then? And that happened to me very, very often in the past. And that is the following thing. You perhaps close your journal, put it away, and you create nothing at all. And I think that is a really, really sad situation, but the good thing is we can do something against that and we can say, okay, I don't have exactly the same materials and mediums that the person has in the video, but I can take my journal and I can create something in my journal. It's my journal, yeah? So I can use what I have and I can be satisfied with my page in the end, no matter if I have the same things like the person in the video or not. But the main point of this is the inspiration that I got from the video, isn't it? So in today's video, I would like to demonstrate something, and that is something that I have actually never done before. I want to create a page in my Distress Embossing Glaze journal. Don't run away if you don't have embossing glaze. Stay here and wait for a little second. I'm sure that you can create something that is really, really nice and that satisfies you, even if you don't have embossing glaze, which is my main medium today. And in this video, I want to do exactly that. I want to show you alternatives to mediums and tools and things so that you can, like, a little bit walk into my brain. I want to show you my process, what I think and what I do if I see something and I want to create it, but I don't have exactly the same things. That means we are going to create a double spread today in this journal. And for each step, I'm making like an example. I am imagining that I don't have this or that, even if I have it, yeah, but as an example. And I will find alternatives so that you can see that you can create something really cool, even if you don't have the same things. Yeah, so the first thing that I want to do is did I say hello to you? I'm so sorry. Hi. What is happening here? You said you want to go into my brain and you want to be in my brain for one day. And if I try to do that, what happens? I even forget to say hello to you. I'm so sorry. So let's take this page here. I have chosen this center page of this signature. As you can see, the thread from my binding is here. Because this way I have two of the same pages, I mean the same paper. As you can see, I have several different papers in this journal to have the possibility to try techniques with embossing glaze on different kinds of papers. But in this case, I will cover this up anyway in a second, but perhaps it's good we have, when we have the same white paper. The second reason is I also want to work with white on my page later with some die cuts and other things. And then it's perhaps a little like trick to have a white page, because then we can leave a little frame to make the whole thing more harmonious. The first thing that I want to try is I want to construct a situation which is relatively close to the reality. That means I have to imagine that I am watching a YouTube video right now. That is a little bit hard, but I thought, why don't we take the last Tim Holtz demo video where he demoed the new colors of the distress embossing glaze, or not only the new colors, but techniques with embossing glaze. Let's take that video and let's like soak different scenes out of that video and see what Tim is doing there. And then we can find with that example some alternatives what we want to do on our journal. And that is actually also something that I do in reality, in reality when the camera is not recording. When I watch something, I try to analyze what the person is doing there. And then I think, okay, what do I have? Which mood do I have? I mean, it can happen that I think, okay, he's using, for example, some distress inks and distress oxide inks to create a background, but perhaps today I'm not in the mood to use that medium. What else could I use? Yeah, so that is what I am doing first. And I want to show you a little portion from Tim's video. And Tim, if you perhaps are watching, thank you very, very much for allowing me to do that, because that is really, really helpful that we can take your video material to see what you have done, to make our own experiences with that, and to transfer a technique to a journal page. And that's also something, I'm so sorry, I will start in a second. That's also something that is important and that inspired this video, because sometimes I think, and that's the same with my thoughts, I mean, it's not only that I think that you think like that, but it's for me the same. Sometimes when I see someone demoing a technique, I'm talking about the raw technique, not a junk journal spread or a finished page or something like that, but the raw technique, then I have the feeling that I have to think a lot or experiment a lot with that technique to be able to transfer that to a page. Yeah, because when you have a tiny sheet of paper, let's take, for example, this example here from Tim's video. He takes distress watercolor cardstock and he creates a background with distress inks and distress oxide inks. And that is nice, of course, yeah. And I really enjoy watching that, learning from him how he is doing it so that I can do it with my own distress inks and distress oxide inks as well. But how can I come over this point that I have learned the technique? How can I come to this stage that I can take the technique and do the technique on my page when I have, for example, a whole journal spread in my mind, something that I want to journal about, but I want to have such a background? How can I include that into my project? And that is also a point for this video, which I want to try to cover, to take the techniques and bring that into a whole context. Hopefully that will make sense in a few seconds. So the first thing that I want to do here is I want to try to imagine, I have seen Tim doing this gorgeous background with the distress inks and distress oxide inks. And I'm imagining I don't have that medium. I don't have inks and I don't have oxide inks, yeah, for this step. So what could I do? What could you do? Of course, what he has shown in the video, you could also imitate by taking a printed paper, like a design paper, a scrapbooking paper, something from a paper pad. Sometimes you even get papers that already have like a watercolory look on them that looks, of course, not the same like it was done with distress inks or distress oxide inks, but it can look similar if you search for it, yeah? But, and Tim has a really abstract watercolory look on his card. But is that necessary? So if you don't have inks or oxide inks, why don't you take a digital paper? So I have chosen two papers that are relatively new in my shop. The one is called Summer Splash Junk Journal Kit, and the other one is called summer fish junk journal pages, and I want to take these digital papers today to create my background. Because who says that you need a background that is made with inks and oxide inks? Yeah, I mean, I love that. That are my oxide ink is my main medium. Yeah, if I would have to live without oxide ink, my life would be not the same. But let's find alternatives and let's try it with digital paper. By the way, if you haven't seen these papers here on my channel yet or in my Etsy shop, then you can find also a shop update video on my channel. I will link that down below for you so that you can check that out if you want. There I'm showing you these papers in detail. Today I will only grab 2 pages of this and then we are going to start. But if you want to have more information about this, then please check out the link in the info box. So I want to choose something. I think I want to have a page that is like a little bit neutral without the fish. This set has pages that have the fish on them and also some pages that are without the fish, only the flowers. Do you know what I mean? So I think I already like this one really much. This is, well, it really doesn't matter what you take. You can take what you want, but I think, shall we take this one? Let's see, because I want to combine that with the other kit. And I'm just thinking which of these background colors would fit the best here. I mean, that both of these would fit to the other kit, but what do I want to do? I think we are going to take this one. But it really doesn't matter what you take. You can take any digital paper or scrapbooking paper or whatever. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to cut these pages into the right size. And I want to leave a little white frame, as I said before, to have the white later on showing all around. The next thing that I would probably normally do is inking the edges. But let's, for this next step, also imagine that we don't have distress ink or distress oxide ink. We don't have finger sponge or like these makeup brushes or something like that. We don't have that, yeah? But can we make something that looks interesting around these papers, even if we don't have that? I think so. I think that every one of us has something like this. This is just an Edding 300, but basically it's a marker that has a relatively big tip, and you can, and I think with this paper it actually looks even perhaps a little bit better than inking. I mean, this is ink as well. What's in this pen, Luisa? But do you know what I mean? So why don't we take this and just go carefully around the edge of these papers to make something that looks interesting, but we don't need what the other person had in the video, and we have something that looks nice. And I think for this paper it fits really, really well, because this black line fits really nicely to these, you know, doodled stems of the flowers. That looks really interesting, I think. So for the next step, I want to take a stencil. I have chosen this one, and I will tell you something about this. First, I will tell you the number. This is THS 022. And I have chosen this even if I think that it is not perfect for my page. Why have I done that? Because we want to find alternatives. Imagine you watch a video and someone has a page with like florals, for example, or some herbs or something like that, something botanical, let's say. And the person suggesting also a floral stencil, something that has leaves or blossoms or something like that. But you think I don't have such a stencil. That is the reason why I have taken this. That obviously is not so like matchy with what I have here. But I want to try what happens if I take this, imagining this is all I have. Yeah. So I'm going to take this and I want to add some embossing ink, and then later on I want to try to emboss this pattern with, where is it? Pumice Stone, I'm so sorry, Pumice Stone Distress Embossing Glaze. I've chosen this brownish gray because I thought that we then get a really nice, like, tiny little bit of grunge. This whole thing is going to end up not so grungy than my other projects. Hopefully, that is the plan. So let's see how much of those colors we will see through this brownish gray of pumice stone, and if this works with this like a little bit strange pattern. Another thing that I want to imagine for this step, and that is something that is my reality, really my reality. Tim has used such a blending tool to apply the embossing ink, but I don't have one of these blending foams which is dedicated to embossing ink, and I don't want to take one out at the moment. So I'm imagining I don't do that. Perhaps I even don't have those blending, thingies. But what happens if I take my Distress Embossing dabber and put that through the stencil directly? Is that possible? I don't know. We will see that in a second. So let's... Ooh, my goodness, this is sticky. Let's dab this on. And I'm not looking for... I'm so sorry, I think you can't hear anything. I'm not looking for a really clear result of this stenciling. If it gets clear, okay, but I don't pay so much attention to get the ink into every single detail of the stencil, because I would prefer to get something loose, yeah, so that it's not so concrete like this. If you don't have a stencil, you could also take a piece of a little bit thicker paper, some scissors, or a paper punch or something like that. Or you could take the leftovers from your die cuts to make your own stencils. You don't need such a fancy stencil, Oh no, I've lost some of my video footage. I'm so sorry. But nothing spectacular happened. I've just applied the ink. The embossing ink, and then I've thrown on the embossing glaze, and I just said you could try this with embossing powder, yeah, normal embossing powder, but the special thing about embossing glaze is that it is translucent and that we will see the pattern of the paper when this is embossed and, when the powder is melted. Of course, you could take embossing powder, but since embossing powder is opaque, you wouldn't see the flowers through the powder. Yeah, but why is that necessary? Do you know what I mean? Of course, you could take normal embossing powder as well. So I will quickly do the same thing here on this paper. And I think I've lost not only a few seconds of my video, but also a relatively important sentence. When I dab the ink on here, like so, then I can see there is a little bit of ink, and then I take this and I go over it like so, like I would do it with a blending tool as well. That helps to spread the embossing ink relatively well. I don't know if that is a professional way to do it, but for me it works. So, okay, when we have that, Barbara, attention. She said that I have that I have put this thing to my table like so, and she has written a message to me that I have to put it like this. Of course I know that, and I store it like this, but in the video I accidentally haven't done that. And she was like, you have made a mistake. That is supposed to store the other way around. Yes, I didn't want to store it. I had it in use, but of course you are totally right. Yeah, that looks good. So let's put this back into this container, and then I will take out my heat tool and I will emboss these areas here on my papers. And without this video, I would probably have used a floral stencil, something that has leaves, or, you know, what I just explained. I would probably haven't come to the idea to use this stencil. But when I look at it now, I'm just amazed. This looks so, so interesting. And this could also be something like stones that are in the water. I mean, they wouldn't lay on the flowers like this, yeah, but it is for me something that fits together, even if it's not floral or with leaves or something like that. This is how the other page looks, and I think we can already glue this down. Okay, so this looks good, I would say. Next, let's think about something that we can add to one of the pages here. I think that I like this page better, so that I want to leave this like negative space for this double spread, and I want to add something here to the left page. And I thought, what can that be? I mean, of course, it can be everything that you have. Yeah, if you want to document a special day, for example, then you could glue a ticket from a concert where you went to the page. Or if you have some photos, you could glue some photos to your page and then write something about what is shown on the photos. You could use some magazine images. You could also use a piece of digital paper. Yeah, if you have bought a junk journal kit, for example, then just take something from the kit to glue here. Yeah, you could make pockets or whatever you want. I thought, why don't we add a tag to this page? So for the next step, let's imagine we don't have a tag. We don't are those kind of crafters who have everything prepared. Yeah, I know, and I'm really jealous. There are many people who have boxes of things that they always use and always need, and they have prepared everything. There are 100 tags, 100 pockets, and so on. I don't have that, but what I of course have, and I think you have that as well, is something that I already have finished. So I have taken out this tag, which I have made in one of my previous videos, and I want to use this as a guideline. I want to see if this size can fit, and then I can have an orientation for the size with this tag. So let's place that here and let's see how that looks. I mean, don't look to the colors. Let's turn it this way around, otherwise I'm getting sick. This is a color combination that I can't handle. So perhaps it's also better to turn it this way around, then it's more neutral and you're not so influenced by the design that you have created on the actual tag. Yeah, so I think this is already a good size, isn't it? And let's just take my little notepad here from there that I have made for, you know, trying to get an organized video. So we are going to take this. I can't see that so well. The paper's brown in my table as well. Okay, so I think I have it. Then I can trace this. And then we are ready to go. And even if you don't have a paper trimmer, just take your scissors and cut this out. And we can also perhaps take the page to see what we would get here. I think this could be really nice. I really like both of these bigger flowers in combination with the smaller ones. I think that could look really interesting on a tag. What about something more, if we turn this around, more like bigger? Not so schier. Schier. That's an Austrian word. And that's something like not so bad. Yeah, and I think we should try it with this page, because these colors here, if I take if I take this part of this page, then this would be really like matchy. The background already has really bam colors. So why don't we try to take this and find a nice position, and then let's just trace around here again, and then I will cut that out again with my scissors, and then I will glue that to my base here. Okay, so here we go. Then I'm going to punch a hole here. Of course, that is optional. Ooh. You can make a round hole, of course, but since I have this gorgeous punch here, I like to make my hole like this. So then let's see. Ooh. Let's see. That is something that is unusual for me, isn't it? I really like this. This is just gorgeous. We've talked about white and why we left this white frame here. So I'm just thinking I want to take a tiny little thing. Oh, I just found something. Oh, today's a good day. I just found this. Look, this has some flowers that matches the theme really well. This is just some fabric, I think from a pillowcase or something like that. Let's think about what you could do if you don't have embossing glaze. Yeah, in the beginning of the video I said you can do something with this video and with inspiration from this video even if you don't have embossing glaze. So what could we do if you don't have that? As I said, embossing glaze is translucent. How could we reach a translucent effect on the tag? That could, of course, happen with clear embossing powder. That could happen with translucent texture paste. Yeah, but it also doesn't have to be clear or transparent or translucent, but it gives a nice look. Yeah, and if we think about this underwater scene here, I mean, these flowers are underwater. Can you see that? These bubbles here, that shall be water. So I'm thinking about using a stencil again to show you with another medium that is not embossing glaze how it looks when you have something that is clear on such a digital paper or an inked background or a paper from, let's say, a magazine or something like that. This could be nice. This could be really nice. Ooh, oh, and we could also, we could also try something that I have seen, I think a few days ago, but where I think I can't give credit to the person where I have seen it, because I can't remember that. If I remember it, I will write it here to the video screen. If I can find that again, I will let you know or link it down below in the description box, but I'm pretty sure that I will not find it again. I even don't have an idea where I have seen it. If it was here on YouTube or on TikTok or wherever, I have absolutely no idea. But the number is THS 120, and the idea is the following. So I want to shift, I think that is the right word, this stencil, because this is one of those that you can make really cool things. I will show you that. I can't explain it. So we are going to take an ink now, or an oxide ink. Let's try, shall we try Lost Shadow? Or let's again take pumice stone. That is perhaps also not such a bad idea. So I'm going to take this, and I'm first going to do the inky part. So I'm going to stencil through this, trying to fade the ink out to the top and the bottom and get it more intense here in the middle. I have the feeling that this is going to turn pink, but let's see. Ooh, ouch. You can find out a new accident every day that can happen with your ink pads. Oh my goodness, it isn't pink. That looks awesome. Look. Oh. Okay, what did we learn? Pumice stone is a really great color for this Summer Splash junk journal kit. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I love it. But my finger hurts. So let's dry that. And while we dry this, we can think about which translucent medium we want to use to add more interest and to shift this pattern. I think we are going to use a thin layer of translucent texture paste. But as I said, you could also now use clear embossing powder. Just do this technique with the dabber and add clear embossing powder. Or you could also, of course, use a glaze again, yeah, if you have one. Let's take some texture paste translucent and a spatula. And now I will leave the rest of this ink on the stencil because that can give really cool effects as well. So we had it like so, as you can see, and now if we want to do this trick with the stencil, we have to shift that so that, ooh, that is really hard to see because the because the ink below is so light. Holy crap, I nearly can't see it. So that we can see the ink through the material of the stencil, and then we can add the texture paste through these areas here now. This is so hard to see. I have absolutely no idea if this is now in the right position, but we will do it no matter if it's the right position or not. We are brave. Okay, so let's take this. Now I'm also not adding it through the whole stencil, but only there where I had the oxide ink before. Let's take that off. Oh, it worked. Woo! It worked really, really well, I would say. I can see it's a little bit like out of, you know, I'm so sorry. Here you can see that it is a little bit like too low, but I think that really doesn't matter. This already looks so, so gorgeous. Now we are going to let this dry, so then it gets translucent. It's a while later, and as you can see, the paste is nearly dry, but not completely. Here on the top, you can see it relatively well. It's still in this milky stage. And here it has already dried relatively well. What I like to do is, when I have this on my tag and I want to leave that clear, I like to heat it up with my heat gun so that I get tiny bubbles on purpose, so that the pattern of this is visible without adding any, for example, crayon or other medium, yeah, like wax or something like that. So if you heat this up now, you still have to do that, let's say, a little bit carefully so that you don't get this really big bubbles. But that works, and that way the paste gets this like rough texture, and you will see that hopefully in a second. It gets also like an outline or something. It's not totally clear as well in the end. And be very... Oh, staples can get hot as well. Oh. I just wanted to say, be careful with your fingers and let it cool down. Don't touch the paste too early. And I've accidentally touched my staples. Of course, they are very hot as well. Oh, I'm okay. So, yeah, don't touch the paste too early. Let that cool down really, really well. But then you can see you have this like bubbly texture. And that makes this pattern, I think, not only more interesting, but also more visible on such a background. If you would have used, for example, the pumice stone glaze for this step, you would see it way more extremely. Yeah, you can compare that with this. We have something translucent here as well, but it's colored at the same time, and here you have to come really close with your eyes to see the translucent areas, but there are two different things. Yeah, this is a background for the whole page for me, and this is the background for the tag, and this is cool. When you have something that is so subtle and nearly not visible, but it is there, then it adds interest, and those like tiny details that are important for, yeah, it's my opinion that they are important for making such a thing more interesting, more unique, but it's not so massive, yeah. So then I think we can glue this down with the foam tape. I think now, yeah, I can turn it around. And the only reason for the foam tape is, or actually there are two reasons, Louisa, there are two. The first reason is it's fast, it sticks immediately. And the other reason is I get a natural shadow because I don't want to go in here with crayons and make a shadow around my tag, because I want to keep this really simple and have the focus also for myself, not only for you and this video, but also for myself, on the techniques with the embossing glaze and other mediums. And here we go. Can you see this natural shadow that this little distance gives me now? So now I want to try something on this page that Tim has also shown in his video where he demoed the embossing glaze techniques, but I want to do that different than he has done it. So he has taken an inked background, a stencil, the number is THS032, and I want to try out if his technique works on a digital paper, which I have printed with my printer as well. The idea behind this technique is to take the stencil through that with translucent texture paste, and then like paint with the glazes on top of that wet paste, and then later on emboss it. Yeah, so I want to see if this effect that he got with that technique can work here as well. And I think we are going to try two things at the same time. So let's add the pattern here, and let's then also try to add the pattern here over the glaze. I have never done that before, but perhaps that can work as well. But before we do that, I think we should talk about the colors that we need here, because for painting with glaze you need the colors that you have in your background. So this to me looks relatively close to peacock feathers, so let's take that. And then we have relatively much yellow here, but I don't have a yellow glaze except squeezed lemonade, and I'm not sure if that can work, but we will try it. And I will also take out some greenish color, even if we don't have green here. But look at this area here. Here it looks nearly like a little bit like forest moss or peeled paint. And since I have peeled paint glaze, why don't I have forest moss glaze? Is that existing? I have to check that out. I don't know if that color is existing. But let's take these. So that means you have to choose your glaze with the colors that you have in your background. Yeah, that's the first thing. Then we are going to take the stencil and we are going to apply our translucent texture paste, and that is important that it is translucent, otherwise this effect won't work. Lift that up carefully. Ooh, that is perfect. I don't like this straight edge, but perhaps we can cover that up later with a flower, a die cut or something like that. So we don't freak out. So then, when we have that, we are going to take the colors of the glaze that we have chosen before, and then we are going to take our fingers, take this out from here, and we are going to apply that here to the stenciled pattern. And now I'm paying attention to the colors of my background so that I get the peacock feathers glaze there where the turquoise is on my background as well. And on Tim's piece, that looked so gorgeous because the glaze makes the colors that are below this texture paste so much more intense. That looks just so amazing. And I want to know if this works on a digital paper as well, because if yes, it would work on any other paper that has a pattern as well. But you know, sometimes with the distress inks and also the oxide inks, there are some of those phenomenons where you think that looks cool, but if I do that with another medium, it doesn't look like that. I mean, it will never look exactly the same, yeah, that is totally clear, but perhaps we can reach something similar. So when I have my peacock feathers on there, trying to make sure that my fingers are clean, and then I'm going to take squeezed lemonade, and I want to put this here where these yellow flowers are. And I'm always taking only a tiny little bit out from that jar so that I can control that really well. So perhaps it looks a lot because I'm going into the jar with my fingers so often, but it's actually not much what I'm taking out, I mean. And of course, it is impossible to, I don't want to say it is impossible. That's perhaps not so good, because it also depends on the pattern that you have on your paper. But if you have such a busy pattern like on this page with tiny details, it's perhaps not so easy to, or in this case, for me, let's say it like that, Louise. For me, in this case, it is impossible to get the glaze exactly there where the flowers are, or exactly there where the turquoise background is, yeah? Because it is so tiny and so detailed. But it doesn't matter. If you have some of the glaze somewhere else, don't freak your freak, that will look amazing in the end, no matter what you do. I mean, that's the thing with the glaze. You can do what you want with it and it will look amazing. But what I'm trying to say is, you can just put that on here. Don't overthink that. I will also put some of this green here to the top, where no green is below. But I think that can look interesting if we have some of that here. And then it also looks a little bit more connected to this bottom area, where I'm trying to get the connection to this with this, if that makes sense. And now I'm going to lift the page up. I can't show you that so well, but perhaps you can see it here. I've bent the other pages to the other side, so that I now can take my fingers, and below the paper I'm doing it like so that the glaze is dancing a little bit, and that makes it stick to all of the areas of the texture paste, and it gives really nice and smooth effects between the single colors. And I'm trying to make sure that every single area of the texture paste is covered up. Okay, so then I will go and get rid of this stuff. I will put that into my party mix jar because you can't put this back into the jars of the glaze, of course, because here you have a mixture of several different colors now. Then it looks like this, and that looks already really, really yummy. We have to, I need a Swiffer first. We have to emboss this, and there are two different ways now. The first way is you can let the paste dry completely. The second way is you can take your heat gun and emboss this now. You will get two totally different results, of course. If you would let this air dry and then emboss it, the paste would get really, really smooth and regular. And if you take a heat gun, you will get something like this with the bubbles. And since we have the bubbles and the texture here, I will use my heat gun for this, and I will emboss this now when the paste is still wet, so that I get bubbles on purpose and this textured effect. Holy moly, guacamole, this is this is, what is this? Ah! How cool. I mean, what the heck? Let me just make sure that everything is melted here. Holy moly, look at this area where this whole stuff is on the glaze that we had before. Can you see that? Can my camera catch that? That looks absolutely gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Whew. That is cool. I mean, you have to pay a little bit attention that you don't get too much heat to this area where the glaze already was from the first, from the step before. because when you go over this with heat, of course, the embossing glaze that you already had here will melt as well. It will remelt, and you don't want to destroy your stenciled pattern here. You don't want to overheat that. It happened to me that I tried to layer several different layers of embossing glaze over each other with a stamp, and that doesn't work so well. If you, I mean, it works, but you have to practice that, I guess, so that it doesn't get too hot. Oh, sorry, so that you don't destroy the pattern that you already have here. But if you do that carefully, you can get something like this, and this is just amazing. This looks so, so cool. But also the area here turned out really, really nice. Here, the paste is not completely dry. That is, you can see that because it's not translucent. But here you can see it is completely dry. And that looks so, so amazing. I have to admit, I like this effect better on an inked background than on this paper, but it works on this paper. And that is what I wanted to find out. And it's, yeah, I'm a little bit sad at the moment because in the camera, it looks not so spectacular like in reality, especially here, not. I don't know why that is, but the camera can't catch that so well. I will try to put some photos to my Instagram and also to my blog on my website. By the way, I've changed my website to English. So if you want to check that out, you can find the link down below in the description box of this video. Originally, my website was in German, but I've switched the languages. So perhaps you want to go and check that out. Okay, so we have this like weird area here, this straight thing. I don't really like that. Where are my die cuts? I already have prepared some wildflowers, and now those will probably be my solution to cover this up a little bit without losing too much of the pattern. I have cut some of these out from white watercolor paper, and I'm just wondering why are here some bats? I mean, what are you doing here? Do you want to play in this game here as well today? I don't know. Of course, these are not from this set. These flowers come from this set, 661808, and from this set, 66110, no, Louise, 661190. Both of them are by Zizix and Tim Holtz, as you can read here and here. Yeah. I'm a little bit confused because of those bats. Look. If we would glue this here, that would be covered up, but it looks a little bit weird. I mean, what is that? But perhaps we can do it like this. And can perhaps someone call me and tell me now if these bats want to play here? Ooh. Yes, they definitely want to. Oh my goodness. That looks really cool. So let's find a position for them. But originally I had planned to add a fish to the tag. So let's see. Can we perhaps do it like so that they go. This one is not in the right position. Let's first choose the fish. I want to cut one out from my summer fish junk journal pages. I think I want to place him here so that we have space for a little quote here. I have taken out this small talk quote thingy from Tim Holtz, and I have chosen this quote: "You can never have too much happy," because these pages with the colors and with those techniques just make me happy. So I think this fits really well, and I want to glue that down here on the bottom. And then I also want to add some white and some black splatters. For that I'm going to use some acrylic paint that I've mixed with some water so that it gets a little bit thinner. I'm going to add the white splatters around the flowers here so that they come to life a little bit more. Just like this, also here. And the black splatters, I want to carefully put around the beds so that they get a connection to the background as well. I will also splatter to that fish a little bit, and here, and some here. So I'm going to let these splatters air dry now. Of course, you could use your heat gun, but I don't want to ruin my page by remelting the mediums that I already have here. And this is a great chance to drink a coffee as well, if this has to dry. So I hope you could get some inspiration from this video, and I'm hoping that you are motivated to find alternatives if you see something that is made with mediums or tools or things that you don't have. And I'm hoping that I could give you some ideas on how to find alternatives so that you can create something that you like and that you are satisfied with in your own journal or on your cards or any other papercraft projects. I hope we will see you the next time. Have a very great day. Bye bye.